care, but I am not happy because you are not there. Words are coming from these places in my brain that I haven't seen from all these pills I take for pain. I'm doing alright. So tell me that poison feels good, just like I knew it would. If I would, I could spend some time with all of you. As if you couldn't tell. And when I'm with you, I feel like I'm in hell. I wish I had an answer, I wish I had a plan. When you know what I've done, I don't expect you to understand. I'm never alright. Nice. Short and sweet. Hello everyone. Brian Jennings, the Millennial Dragon. Right, the madman who talks out of his ass constantly. This channel exists specifically, right, to ruminate on the nature of wisdom, the nature of power, right? And on a simpler level, to discuss my relationship with the auteur, Quentin Tarantino. Right? I didn't write that song because of our relationship, but it's quite fitting. I wrote Quentin a series of letters about playing the lead in the movie Critic, which set into motion a sequence of events that led to where we are now. Right? So, we're talking about the nature of reality. We're talking about how Quentin does what he does, right? We're talking about how I do what I do. We're talking about the writing, right? I've written a novelization of my experiences with Quentin on the psychic frontier. Quentin is a powerful clairvoyant, right? Who enjoys remote viewing people, who enjoys occupying foreign territory, right? The map is not the territory, right? The brain is not the mind, right? So, Quentin is, top 1% clairvoyance all the world over. I would say that I probably fall in that category myself as well, right? Though I only say I'm likely the most powerful clairvoyant in the millennial generation. Right? There's probably, 7 or 8 generations all living right now, right? And so the two of us have been embroiled in this hideous psychic siege for over a year now. And so he's kicking back off, right? Production Weekly. This is not me, right? This is not like weird tinfoil hat Alex Jones, right? Production Weekly has published, right, that an untitled Quentin Tarantino project is kicking off with Stacey Sher and Sony, right? Likely Angie McDonald too, December of this year, right? So, right, without going on and on, right? Because it's just like it's an endless thing in both of our lives, right? After I didn't bend to his psychic whim, right? At De Niro Con, right? There's the lanyard, right? There's the ticket, De Niro Con, right? At a screening of Jackie Brown, right? He and the people around him entered into a covenant to compel me to madness, to make me seem insane, right? Really, really base, ugly things, right? And so this is what I mean when I say, right, that he failed his initiation, right? He's been blessed with much in this world, right? For his mind on a principle level, I would say, we could lump somebody else into that category too. Maybe I won't say that. Maybe I'll say that for last, right? But my point is that, right, this is what he does, right? Like that I didn't give him what he wanted. That's the easiest way of putting it, right? And I've gone through the 7 stages where I spent months feeling bad about myself. And I should have done it. It's high magic, of course. Sure. You know, it's not, right? It wasn't a little thing that I did, right? But, right, the Lord Almighty hovers over all, right? That divine intellectual abstraction, right, hovers over all of us. And that thing operates on the principle of giving, of love, right? So he has more to give than I do, right? And so I chose my side, right? And if he was, this is my point, right? It's twofold, two points that are made in that, right? The first of which is that now as a result of him, like having done everything that he's done, right, as far as his campaign, right, which WME has been aware of, as well as Sony, they know that he was doing something with me, that he was handling me in some way, right? And of course, got a lot I could say about that, right? But now that he's failed, right? Like he can't. Like I'm not gonna blow my brains out. I'm not gonna do that. Nah, no thanks. You're not that strong. You're just obnoxious, just like me, I suppose. Right? But now, right? He has engendered a condition psychologically in both of our minds, right? That compels reconciliation, because otherwise we're just mentally ill, you know? And so he wants me to sue, like that's what he wants. I have no money, right? I was working and he tortured me to the point where I felt like I needed to go to the hospital, right? And I shouldn't have. They can't help at all. Nice people, well-meaning people, but they can't, right? That evil that he puts on me, right? Number one, it came from me, right? Because I know the game, right? We're playing the psychic mind, oh, I'm destroying you with my mind game. That's the game. Right? But as a result of his failure, now he is in a position where he has to either reckon with the fact that both of us are psychic phantoms in the other's mind, right, forever, right? Not for a week. Doesn't work that way, right? Or he has to send people to assassinate me. That's it. There's no middle ground there, right? It's either reconciliation or mental illness. That's right? There's no something in between there. And I'm wearing it well. I suspect he is too. Right? But my point is that, right, it's twofold, right? Is that he's kicking off that movie and he's getting his Lifetime Achievement Award with the Burbank International Film Festival. And so, but wait, why? What do you mean exactly? Right? So, right, after I blew it at Tribeca, leading into, right, going to see Fish for the first time, it's all in this novel. I'm going to start reading from my novel soon enough. I got the message. Right? I knew that he hated me. And I was moving on. Right? I had my audition at the Folger Theater. Right? And I suspect now he did everything that he did because he didn't want to see me go audition, because he knew that I would have got cast likely. Right? But in any event, right? He did all these things, and then I revealed myself at the first of the year, right? And I said, oh, well, how about this? Right, there it is. There's the board, right? My Celestial Vision board. And within like a week, he said, no. This isn't what I signed up for. And I'm not going to go on and on about that, right? But I've been trying to come clean ever since, right? And then he descended into palpable black magic evil in April of this year when Fish was playing in Seattle, right? And so I took everything down. I said, no, it's too evil. Like, fine, dude, fine, cool. You know, like, good for you. Badass movie director, prepared to be the most degenerate, evil man that the mind will allow. That there's no, right? The next step is him killing me. That's That's what it actually is, just so that like we're all on the same page here. Right? And if he buried me in these tactics, right, that it probably would kill me. It probably would give me cancer or something to that effect. Right? But after I took everything down, right, eventually, right, he did his retrospective at Cannes, right, on Red Canyon and whatever that other one was. And he had people on me, right, making my life miserable. Right? So that Quentin's mind could be clear, you understand? Right? That me and Quentin, like, we're right there. Right? Because him, and it's not just him, you know, it's everyone around him. The people that are closest to him, right? It's called building a coven because he has two women in his life. Right? So, I wasn't ready at Cannes, right? And I was perplexed and bewildered by it, like the depth of their torture. Like in that, I said, why? Like, why? It's going on. Like we've been at this for a year, like over a year now. Who cares? Like, what do you guys get out of this now? Honestly. And then I looked it up eventually and saw, oh, he had his monkey suit on and was talking to 1,000 people. Right? That's... So, right, my point is that this channel exists now. Right? Because he's going to do the same thing when he gets the Vanguard Award. Right? Anna Mayberry and every single one of those motherfuckers on the board at the Burbank International Film Festival support and insulate a dangerous evil. Right? And then, of course, WME does too. Right? I feel evil right now. Right? Oh, is this a crazy guy? Right? So, right, if he was actually cool, right, he would have looked in, right, paid me nothing, right? And they know every time I really feel evil, I'm going to write Westboro Baptist. No, it's over, the evil, it's just sick. Right? But he could have produced a non-disclosure agreement through his agency. He never had to say anything to me. Right? So there's the money for the scene. You sign that, you go fuck off anywhere. Right? He didn't want to do that. He wanted to try to like trick me into blowing my head off. To trick me into walking out into traffic. Right? That's right. Now that he's failed to do that, right? He's descended into real degeneracy, like really palpable black magic evil. Right? So I'm gonna pick up where I left off. It's a novelization of my experiences. We're now on the street hiking towards what I believe to be Hamlet with Transtasio and his daughter Eliza as Ophelia. Pretty funny. All bullshit. Right? So, got me good, right? And so before I begin, right, well, the last thing that I'll say, right, is that it's daughter. It's like he's exerting like daughter energy. He's like, oh, I have this daughter. Right? Trey has a daughter. Right? That it's obvious that and it took me, you know, like I suppose really I couldn't crystallize it until today, you know, that he used his daughter, right? That it's a shallow, uninspired conspiracy, right? To say, oh, see, like look how crazy he is. He can't play the role, right? And it's really sad. It's really sad how evil that is, right? To involve your progeny, to involve the people around you, right? Knowing how much you have, right? So, right? He's evil, I'm insane. Like these are our two positions, right? I'll pick up where I left off. I could say more about Lisa, how loving she seems, how funny and fun to be around. My leading lady. I can see she has a jealousy in her about her sister, whom she fears will try to steal me away. I constantly assure her that's not going to happen. The last thing I want is to upset her, and that she can be as selfish as she wants with me. It's true. She asks, really? I could say something about it blowing up in her face once her sister sees the Coven, but I know she knows that. I trust her, and want her to be happy. I am assured they're all watching over me from both coasts, a vast psychic frontier, a room of crystal resonance, which is my mind, which is God's mind, which is creation. I know in my heart I love them all dearly, and have done and continue to do all that I can to show how much I care. Is it enough? I'm told it is. How much they all are moved by my sacrifices, dedications, and devotion to this dream of performance. I must rest. I've come inside the abandoned house through the window, and though the weather says it will be nice the rest of the day, I am thinking I'll stay here the night. The house is a ramshackle dump in a great state of disrepair. Birds outside the window sing their awareness of my presence. Broken doors, broken windows. It appears to be half demolished. I'm thinking about masturbation right now. Alistair, in our time together, often would, and still will, make jokes about me jacking off in dumpsters. But no, I suffer. I don't have to, and so I don't. I know that I should be walking, but my shin is throbbing and my feet are so fucked up. I have to pace myself. The carpet is disgusting, and there are almost a dozen wasps' nests along the corner where the walls meet the ceiling. Busted, dilapidated doors, old hose lines, clothes, a high chair. It is all but unsalvageable. I know I am safe from the elements in here, though the human element is always lurking. I thought I heard a police radio. I now assume it was paranoia over my trespass. Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now is the only book here. I suppose I should take it. It is one of Clay's favorite books, so they say. And as he is my spiritual father, as with Alistair, I have to take it, and so I will. I'm assured they're all with me, and though I feel lost, I also feel love. Love. And it must mean something. All this suffering, all this sacrifice and toil has to mean something, right? As I begin to cry, Alistair says, "Please, son, don't be upset. We all love you so much and are with you. And yes, it is palpable. I feel them all as they all feel me from 1,000 miles away, distant yet loved. Please, Ethan," Willow pleads, "don't be upset. I know you believed me sincere, and I was and am, but you have to be calm. I considered leaving. This place is stuffy and disgusting." And Alistair says, "No, you stay here for the night." To which I say, "What if I get sick?" He tells me I won't. I'll say while walking this morning I recalled my niche letter, and I heard him. He came, saying that he didn't know what was going on, but that he is in my corner. And when he read my letter, he said, "Wow, here's a guy with a real literary voice." The kindest praise anyone could offer, most of all from the finest American novelist of all time. I thanked him, and he left. I think he heard me, but I am not sure. Annabella assures me they all cherish the letters, as she and Alistair do, because it shows them that all hope is not lost, that perhaps there is a future for literature, and of course I appreciate it, and am moved to tears once again. Watching Oliver Sacks again, listening really, Alistair tells me, "We're all with you, don't worry. I know how you feel, sitting in this dump in the middle of nowhere all alone. Sitting in this ragged recliner, it is exponentially more comfortable than the cold concrete." And Willow says, "I know how weary and exhausted you are. Use this time to rest. I love you." "Don't worry, dude," Alistair says. "Please try not to worry. We're all with you." Lisa says, "I'm with you too, Ethan." Annabella says, "Don't worry, honey. We're all with you." As I awake from a nap and feel terribly alone, even though she called me honey, I know that she loves me so, as they all do. My coven bombard me with love as I listen to Hamlet. They both profess, Lisa and Willow, their devotion and love. Willow, though hearkening to an egregious lie she postulated some days ago in Los Angeles, tells me that everything she said to her friend, which she conjured to distract me while she fucked another man, is true. That through our time in spiritual communion, she has come to appreciate how beautiful Hamlet is, and how sure she is, how sure they all are, that I am supposed to be the finest Hamlet this century, ever recorded, ever born in America, and At the risk of arrogance, I agree. I love them, all three of them, though they each incite my frustration for one reason or another. Least of all Lisa, then Hazel, most of all Willow. The light diminishes minute by minute. It is 4:44, 3 fours. I took earlier this year to riding through the last of the light. I believe the magic to be highest through the golden hour. It approaches swiftly. I don't know what spells I seek to conjure at this special time. World peace, perhaps. The end of suffering. Calm. A life I can be proud of. A family I can embrace, embody, as well as in soul and spirit. But for now, the world suffers. My grandfather suffers war-torn Israel. I have no pride in my reflection, and my family all love me from afar. They all profess their adoration. They tell me how proud of me they are, that it is pouring out of me and so captivating. It has captured all their hearts. Yet am I alone, hungry, destitute, broken. The pinnacle of Masonic initiation, the widow's son, down, down, quite down. All is not well. The light has all but gone. I now write by phone flashlight. As I listen to Manly Palmer Hall on the secret doctrine, Willow tells me, I love you so much. I see how devoted you are to truth, to knowledge. They all discuss how I'm constantly pushing the frontier of my ignorance further towards oblivion. She says, I've always known. You're my man, my Merlin, my great cosmic love. I know I fucked everything up. It's all true. You hear so well. And I know she is right. I know we have forged together a wild psychic horizon. I've always known that. It is a product of her design, not mine. But she has done everything in her power to sabotage it. But it is too strong, too complete in its construction. I would never attempt to destroy it or deny its validity. And now she alleges she won't anymore either. Time, the great river of understanding. By its flow, we both shall see where we belong. I love you, she says. It feels good. I don't trust it. Tears. The river of sadness bleeding from my ducts. Darkness reigns. Headlights Doppler. Willow assures me, I won't betray you anymore. I do know you're right. Referring to my earlier comment on how she might incite her own homicide by her childish meanderings through the minds of others. She tells me, I have no desire to seduce a lesser mind or man, because she knows. She has already built a great crystal palace, a palatial estate, with the supreme interstellar alien that is me, at the risk of arrogance. But she has called me this very recently, and when asked where I am from, I often say Saturn. It's true, she says, you hear so well. You see right through me, I love you, she decries. And it moves me, but my pain compels the notion be recognized as fraudulent until her actions prove otherwise. And as I am 1,000 miles away, I do not see her rectifying her disgusting errors in the near future. But I will, she says, and I want to believe her. But we've come too far. But for now I do not, and it hurts to admit. Yours is a hero's journey, so you have to go farther than anyone else. You know who this is, right? Clay? Yes, that's right, he says. This is why you suffer. I am reminded of John Lennox, who says the crucifixion is not a blanket absolution, but a justification for all our sufferings. Christ is the apex hero's journey. Hopefully mine is less dramatic. I'll say I am centrally located here. I wonder if I should go to this fork in the road, one way heading north, the other towards Interstate 40. Perhaps it is best to stand there and conserve my energy. Perhaps I can go north, perhaps east to Nashville. I have options here. At night I can come stay here. I will have to continue north soon, out of desperation and hunger. But tomorrow, I think that is the play. We're all with you, Alistair says, as he becomes emotional. He tells me, she's yours. She always has been. She just didn't realize it was different, or how different it was. To which I counter, yes, she did. You said it yourself. I'm the only one. Therefore, by default, I'm prepared to see past it, I say. Because I gave her my heart, because she means something to me. And he says, you're so wise and young. How can it be this way? I know it is so connected to your belief you had this horrible disease. And you conquered your fear. You did it. You've been so good to her. And now we can be a family. And I tell him, don't get upset. But we both are. Likely, we all are. Endless rivers of tears. As I listen to Strange Design, Annabella tells me it's such a beautiful song, and that she knows I mean as much to Clay and Q as I do to them. And I remind Lisa I haven't forgotten her. And I thank Annabella, who tells me how special it is that I've brought us all together, how I'm the only one who could have. And though alone, I've never felt more loved or complete. Alone. Not forever. Only for this last little while, God willing. Yes, I'm assured I'm almost home. I'll stop there. So, it's a novelization of my experiences on the psychic frontier with Quentin Tarantino. Right? If you recall, one second. Right? I espoused that he said, oh, I'll say I have a daughter, number one, because he's a sexual degenerate, right? And number two, because he can say, oh, see, like my daughter's a little girl, right? See how insane he is? Right? And so I didn't respect it, and then I did respect it, and he lied on the mercy seat. This thing that we're doing here, right? This clairvoyance remote viewing thing, it's a divine celestial thing. Right? And so that's why I never looked up his children for 6 months. Right? Of course. That's right, like, oh, you say something to me in this way, in this special divine way. Right? I trust you. Right? And of course it's all bullshit. Right? It's not like it's all bullshit. All of it. Can't stress that enough, right? Trey Anastasio thinks I'm insane, right? That's, right? He's cast his allegiances with evil, right? Because of Quentin slandering me, right? Just like he slandered me to everyone. Because he didn't want to admit that he played Russian roulette with his career. Right? Because if he had sent me a letter, right? If he had told me what he wanted to do, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Right? Then when he stuck his nose up in my letter, I would have said, oh, it's just theater, right? Or I wouldn't have even asked for his autograph. Right? But I wanted him to say what he wanted. Right? This game, like it's a game to him. That's the point, right? And so I have a lot that I could say about that, right? But what I will say, right, is that if he just rides this lie, right, and we never reconcile, right, and he says, oh no, Brian's insane, the daughter, like my daughter's a sweet, innocent little girl, right? That he's going to compound so much bullshit, so much malignancy of thought upon him and his family, right? That all the bullshit that he said about his daughter is going to become true, right? Because he's going to hover over her, right? Like a helicopter, right? To make sure that she doesn't do any of the things that he alleged she does. Right? And she's gonna like reflex, right? She's gonna do drugs. She's gonna become a meth whore, right? Right? And get pissed on for $500 an hour, right? You think that interests me? Like making those claims, right? You think that's like what I want to talk about, right? You think I give a fuck what Quentin Tarantino does, right? If he had never fucked with me at Con, we wouldn't be here right now. 100%. Right? If he would have just let me go to work, right? Oh gosh, he's lost his mind, right? And these are the two positions, right? These are the two positions, right? He's a fucking sick, degenerate, evil man, and I'm not well in my mind, right? But if I'm not well, right, then there's no reason he shouldn't release the conversation between him and Robert De Niro. Because it has nothing to do with me. There it is. Right? Whose face is that? Robert De Niro. Right? Any man who submits their mind to Quentin Tarantino in this way doesn't respect themselves. Right? And so what I'm saying, right, which I said it before, right, is that Quentin's kink, right, is to remote view through other men, right, while they're fucking the women in his life. That's like where the daughter thing all originates, right? That he put his women on me, right? Right? So that he could watch me masturbate, I guess, like while he's seeing his women seduce me in that way. Because, right, he puts, right, there's two women, right? Right? Daniela, so fine, so delicate. Such pretty little feet. Eh? Right? Daniela, as well as Badass Cinema, whatever her name is. Right? Allison. Her name's not Allison, but that's what they told me. Willow. Right? That he, right, he puts them on men, the men in his life, and then the actors, right, remote views through their eyes, right? What's Leo DiCaprio got to say about it? How much did Daniela close her eyes while she was fucking you? Right? What's Austin Butler got to say about it with that other one? How many times did she close your eyes while you were fucking her? Right? Sick. Pretty fucked up, you ask me. Right? And so when I didn't give him what he wanted, right, he entered into this conspiracy, right? To make me kill myself, 100%. To make me say, oh gosh, he's so mean. Oh, it's so overwhelming. Oh no, bang. Right? And so now that I haven't done that, right, he's descended into real palpable black magic evil. Real evil. Right? And so this is my point when I say that he failed his initiation. Right? That he could have paid me nothing. Right? And then I never would have said anything about, right, Brad Pitt winning an Oscar for beating up his wife on an airplane. Right? I would have never said anything about, Quentin having a really fucked up psyche. It's none of my business, right? It's none of my business. Right? But, right? He made it my business. That's my point. That's my point, right? And so this game, right, this thing that he does, right, that he thought that he was like so fucking clever at, it ain't got nothing to do with the movies or money, right? You see the board, right? That wisdom, right? Wisdom is priceless. There's no, right? Right, what's this? Same image, that's right there. Right? So he wants to play the psychic mind game, right? Psychic occultism mind game, right? And I admit he went way farther than I thought anyone was capable of. Really sick evil. He meditates on evil. That's my point. That's my point, right? His wife, so fine, so fucking fine, right? That he could look to her and say, all of my wisdom is led to you, right? And that would be romantic and beautiful, right? You're the mother of my children, right? I venerate you, right? He doesn't see anything that's good in his life, right? He's a sick, dangerous man who meditates on evil and destruction and power, right? He's lied on the mercy seat to me for over a year now, right? That this thing that we're, okay, like, I'm not going to go on and on. I'm going to recite some Shakespeare and then I'm going to go because I've been going for several minutes now, right? But this thing that we're doing here, right, it is a connection to a divine understanding, right? That life is not an accident, right? That nothing emerges haphazardly. It's not a haphazard convocation of chemicals in motion. Ultimately, you always end up at the line in the sand. Right? Words. Right? Which came first, thought or motion? right? There's the line, the horizon of your ignorance, and you have to make an inference of understanding, right? So I choose to say that thought came first, that Platonic forms is the true philosophy. All things reside as idea. How does this relate to Quentin? What I'll say is that while attempting to read my book, which is somewhere, here it is, earlier, right, lecture on Masonic symbolism, it's a really good book, that I felt his evil, 100%. He doesn't want me to be wise. Right? But it's all the same. Right? And then again, this is the shallowness of it all. Right? So if we say that thought precedes motion, then space is structured in a particular way. That the conscious field, right, which is the expression of giving, God's love, the divine light of deity, etc., exists in a perpetual state of rest, omnipresent in every cubic centimeter of space, equally distributed in terms of volumetric pressure. Right? Embedded within the divine light of God, is an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra. This is one example. Right? This is a compound of 40 tetrahedra, right? 20 pointing up, 20 pointing down. Right? And so, if you look, right, to this, right, here's an example, right, that's a subdivision of 42, right, that all of these things are all nested inside of each other, right, so perfect in their expression, right, that they dissolve into seeming non-existence. And when the divine light of God exerts its knowing upon that hologram, right, it is a quantum hologram of electric potential and probability, right? And when the divine light squeezes it, right, it exerts pressure, right, at the angle or angles, right, angel or angels, right, upon the subatomic structural scaffolding, right, and as it does that, it collapses, right, until it reaches the interior geometry of what's inside of here, right? It's called the vector equilibrium, which is actually up there on paper, but you can't see it. It's just on a frame. Right? And so as soon as you hit that, right, it then collapses through the Platonic solids, right? Dodeca, octahedra, cube, right? Tetrahedra, right? And through that, through those five, polyhedral arrangements, right? Closest packing of spheres, right? We see a mirror for all of the molecular chemical structure of all of the elements on the periodic table. Right? So, right, God from Ein Sof to Malkuth, right, it's from outside in, right? It's an exertion of pressure upon the hologram, right? And as it's collapsing towards center, right, it becomes pregnant with electric resistance, right? As friction grating against itself, right? Until the friction becomes so great, right? The electric resistance becomes so high that it can no longer remain in inert space and erupts into incandescence, right? As matter, right? First photons of light, chemical elements, atmospheric strata, mineral, vegetable, animal, man, right? And so the specific angle, right? If we say within here, right, is the geometric lattice underpinning structure for all of manifested reality, right? And then we close this in a sphere, and I cast a circle around it. That's called a great circle, right? So any degree on that great circle can represent a pressure condition upon the quantum manifold, right? Which is to say, it can represent a vector of manifestation out of the abstract divine idealized form into a manifested measurable corpuscular shadow, right? And so that's, what is that, 360 opportunities, right, for each great circle, right? And so you have an infinite variety of great circles which can wrap around this form, right? My point being, right, that God the Father alone, right, manifests all of physical manifested reality, right, through the omniscience, the dignity of its thinking, right? So all instances of psychic phenomena, right, the things that people refer to as psychic, clairvoyant, telepathy, telepathic, telekinesis, psychokinesis, thaumaturgy, remote viewing, right, are the same things, right, that people refer to as magic, right, and sorcery in centuries past, right? So all instances of clairvoyance, all instances of magic, right, of telepathy, right, of remote viewing, of sorcery, of magic spells, right, is the mind of the adept, right, tapping into the non-locality, omnipresence of the divine abstract intellectual quality, right, which manifests all of reality through its thinking, through its exerting a pressure upon the quantum hologram, right? The highest expressions of said clairvoyance, right, of said expression of extrasensory perception sees the adept behaving like God, right? And so you can heal the sick, right? And you can see through other people's eyes, right? And far easier, right? Though far more evil, right? On the worst level of this, right? You can destroy people, right? So uplift your soul to God. See what's good in your life. Like, comment, subscribe, share. All the best. Have a good weekend. Stay cool.